We still don't have Kimberly Rising, but it's 7 o'clock, so I think we should get started. We can let her on if she comes in. So Jeremiah, take it.
Perfect. Good evening and welcome to tonight's 10th Congressional Debate. My name is Jeremiah Hayner and I'm the current chairman of the board for the Macomb County Chamber of Commerce. I'm honored to be your moderator this evening. We're very excited and pleased to bring you this special program tonight. I want to thank each of the candidates for taking time to participate in tonight's event and for sharing your views and ideas on a variety of critically important issues affecting District 10 residents as your future 10th District constituents. To our viewers this evening, thank you for taking the time to learn about the candidates. We appreciate you being with us tonight and we sincerely hope that you gain more insight into those seeking to represent you in the halls of the United States Congress. Finally, I'd like to thank Thelma Castillo, CEO and President of the Blue Water Chamber, and Dr. Kelly Lavati, CEO and President of the Macomb County Chamber, for creating and hosting tonight's important event. They and their staff have worked diligently to put together this evening's debate. Before we begin, I'll lay out the ground rules that each of the campaigns have agreed upon. Candidate order is alphabetical by last name. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a question first. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. Warnings will be given at 30 seconds and 10 seconds. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for their closing statements. Only one candidate will speak at a time. As you can imagine, with conducting this debate via Zoom, there could be technical delays for some candidates, and we're seeking to allow each candidate their full time to speak. Candidates, if you choose to debate each other or another's position, it will count against your time to answer that question. And questions were submitted by the public policy committees for the Blue Water Chamber and the Macomb County Chamber. Candidates, you'll have 1 minute for your introduction and opening statement before I begin with the questioning. Finally, if there is time permitting after our candidates are finished answering the official questions, we will take questions from you, our viewers. Now that we've gotten formalities out of the way, let's begin tonight's debate. Our first candidate introduction will go to Kimberly Bison. Mrs. Bison, you may begin.
Hello, thank you very much for having me this evening. I would like to commend the chambers for allowing this forum and debate to be done in a media format due to our current pandemic crisis. Again, my name is Kimberly Bison. I'm a community and an international climate reality leader working on common issues with residents, local, state, and federal officials, finding bipartisan solutions for our communities. I believe in putting people and communities first. And as your Congresswoman, I will protect the Constitution of the United States by supporting the Second Amendment and supporting equality for all American citizens, regardless of our differences. I support access to affordable health care, especially those with pre-existing conditions. And when it comes to COVID-19 and our climate crisis, I believe in the science, the data, and I believe that truth matters. My plans for District 10 and the American people provide a future of hope. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kimberly. Our next candidate, Representative Shane Hernandez.
Thank you to the Blue Water Chamber and Macomb Chamber for putting this on and giving everybody in the 10th District the opportunity to hear from the candidates tonight. I appreciate it, and thank you for everybody that's joining us. My name's Shane Hernandez. I'm born and raised in Croswell in Sanilac County, live in Port Huron in St. Clair County today with my wife Renee and 2 little girls, Kelsey and Kara. They're 8 and 5. So a lot of fun action in our house. My background is actually in commercial architecture. I have a master's degree in architecture from Lawrence Tech and worked in the field for 12 years at a small architectural firm in Port Huron. Have always had a passion for political activism. I'm a small government conservative. I've chaired St. Clair County Republican Party and always been involved. And in 2016 decided to run for State House in the 83rd House District and won that race. And in my second term in the State House. I'm currently the Appropriations Chair in the state of Michigan and have earned the title in 2017 as the most conservative legislator in the state. And am a proven conservative. And am looking forward to continuing to get to know the people across the 10th district and answering questions this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Our next candidate, Lisa Mclean.
Okay, there I am. I'm still having a little technical difficulties over here. Thank you everyone for having us. Thank you both chambers. Thank you people, everyone in the audience. And thank you candidates. I'm very inspired and honored to be sitting here in front of all of you today, running for Congress in the 10th district. My background is I've lived in the district for 20 years. I'm married. I have 4 children. My youngest is 17. She'll be a senior next year. I've spent 30 plus years building a business and serving my community. I'm the only proven job creator, I think, in this race. I started when I graduated high school in 1984. I started with a company called American Express. I worked there for 11 years. We took that division from number 144 to number 1 in 5 short years. And we did that with a lot of hard work, a good positive vision for the future, and a big mindset that we could make a difference for our clients. And we did. After 11 years, I decided to start my own business with a gentleman, a colleague of mine, and I've spent 23 years building the business.
Time, Lisa.
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's time.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Lisa.
Story got away from me.
And our next candidate is General Doug Slocum.
Okay, you better put the time on.
Well, hopefully everyone can hear me. And once again, thank you to the chambers. I'm Doug Slocum, retired General Slocum. I was commissioned by President Reagan in 1984 and had the privilege to spend 35 years serving our country. I retired last year as a Brigadier General serving President Trump, as an early supporter of and contributor to candidate Trump in 2016. I am a conservative, which means I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, I'm for secure borders, and for a strong military. And I'm also pro-business. My record proves itself. I'm the Macomb County Economic Partner of the Year from a couple years ago in the Macomb Foundation Hall of Fame, and the only congressional candidate endorsed by the Detroit Regional Chamber. I am the pro-business candidate with you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, General Slocum. That concludes our introductions for this evening. We're going to go ahead and start with the 5 questions that were chosen.
Jeremiah, we have Kelly Nolan. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my chat box definitely popped up. Kelly Nolan, as our next candidate, you are up.
Jeremiah, if I was still working in the ER, my friend, let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Kelly Noland. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of a special needs son. I'm a nurse, and I'm also a retired veteran, just like General Slocum, except I was enlisted. Thank you, sir. Back at you. What I feel is that Washington has lost the pulse of the people. Our voices aren't being heard in our district. Instead, there's been lots of dark money in politics, like Citizens United. And there's been some shenanigans in some of our elections. And we need somebody who's going to be standing tall, being motivated and dedicated, and being able to work across the aisle with another person. Now, as a 33-year nurse, I've had, you name it, I've had it happen in front of me. And I've worked with people in the worst of circumstances. And I am pretty sure that I can apply those skills to Congress, which is so sorely needed nowadays. Communication and compromise, where we can agree to disagree. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. My apologies again. That concludes the introductions this time. We have 5 questions that were chosen by the Blue Water Chamber and the Macomb County Chamber, and we're going to take those in alphabetical order. So our first question tonight will start with Kimberly Bison, and the question is, with the passing and the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, healthcare has been debated significantly over the last 10 years. During the pandemic, many have exploited gaps in the system, especially for populations that may be economically challenged. what is your take on the current state of the Affordable Care Act? And if elected, what would you change? What would you keep?
Thank you very much for that question. I completely believe that it's a human right to have access to affordable health care. Absolutely. I ran in 2018 for this seat, and along the campaign trail for that election and this one, the number one thing I hear about in District 10 is, in fact, health care. The stories are overwhelming to me in all of the situations that people are going through, especially right now, and of course, trying to deal with their health care. We need to actually fix what is wrong with the Affordable Care Act. Absolutely no way can we throw 11 million people and 40,000 people that live here right in District 10 off of healthcare, especially those with pre-existing conditions. So I'm completely in favor of fixing the ACA. And I also believe that we really need to start to take a hard look at healthcare in general and start to move towards a universal healthcare system. Now that could be a Medicare for all situation or solution, or it could be single payer solution in which people can opt in with their own insurance. However, we've got to make sure that we keep people on insurance, affordable healthcare insurance, especially with pre-existing conditions. So that's pretty much my take on healthcare. A lot of room for improvement, of course, as you know. We need to lower the prices with big pharma, this highway robbery, the prices of some of these drugs. So we need to actually start focusing on people and making sure that they're getting the good services that they deserve and to be healthy always. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Hernandez, same question for you.
Thank you. I believe the free market and competition drive the best services. I do not believe that a government service usually turns out into be something that's flexible. I don't think it turns into being something that's affordable. I do believe in protecting people with pre-existing conditions. I think that is extremely important. But I think the number one thing we need to do is get people directly connected to the healthcare professionals, and we need to have flexibility. I have a younger, healthy family. I may be interested in something like a direct primary care plan with a higher deductible plan for catastrophic incidents, maybe a health savings plan, a medical sharing plan. I think the more choices and the more options we have for our families that are in different situations, the better we will have. As we move towards single payer plans, those will not be flexible, they will not be affordable. The competition drives the best services that we can have. And those are the things that we need to focus on. We need to focus on giving people options. Different families and different situations must have options. There's other things that can be done in this. President Trump has talked about price transparency. I think that's incredibly important for people to understand what it is they're purchasing, what is the price of that, and be able to make those decisions. But we need to get the government out from in between the individual seeking the healthcare and the person delivering the healthcare.
Thank you, Representative. Lisa Mclean, for your response.
Thank you. I believe we should repeal. Oh my heavens! Sorry about that again. Repeal the Affordable Care Act. It doesn't work. I again believe in the free markets. I believe in options. I also believe that we should support people with the pre-existing conditions at all costs. Some ideas and some options to think about though, because just saying it doesn't work, I think is an easy thing. But the second thing is, okay, now what are we gonna do about it? I think we need to take a hard look at some options such as HSA accounts. I also think we should take a look at association medical plans. I think we should also take a look at having our medical coverages portable across state lines. I think, again, we should not have a single payer system. We should connect the healthcare providers with the individuals. And again, I believe in the free markets, and putting those two together will offer a much better solution for a lot more people.
Thank you. General Slocum.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for that question. I'll start by saying, from my perspective, when it comes to healthcare, government is not the answer. There's endless examples of why that's the case, but the cookie cutter approach to healthcare simply has not worked. We need to have free markets. We need to have competition. That's what's going to drive affordability. That's what's going to drive the quality of the coverage that we have. And it's also going to make the price where we need it to be for the consumers. When government's involved, there's way too much regulation, time spent, and our businesses spend too much time trying to figure out healthcare plans and regulations instead of focusing on the business of business. So the bottom line is I would support repealing the Affordable Care Act. We need to allow our businesses to focus on what matters in this country, get our economy back on track. And that's my approach to the Affordable Care Act.
Kelly Nolan?
Thank you. I have to humbly disagree with all three of my GOP colleagues because as a nurse, I have seen the catastrophic results of people without health care. I would legislate to expand the ACA. I would also legislate to do price controlled on maintenance drugs like your insulin, birth control pills, your Dilantin, your cardiac medications. Medications that need to be taken daily or every other day, I would advocate to be free. I would also advocate to be free routine use antibiotics like tetracycline, Keflex, amoxicillin, erythromycin. Those should be free, okay? When I started nursing 33 years ago, it was the health care industry. It is now the health service industry where patients used to be customers. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a little hot in the collar about this, but I feel very strongly about it. And that's what I would do. I would expand and I would fix drug prices. And I would also try to move healthcare lobbyists' influence out of Congress. That would be another big thing for me to do. So I have to respectfully disagree with my colleagues there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Our second question this evening is an important one that deals with the opioid crisis. If we were having this conversation 2 years from today, what would have to happen between now and then to say that you helped address the opioid crisis and support recovery from addiction? We're going to start with Shane Hernandez on this question.
Thank you. This is something that affects not only our area, but I believe the entire state, the nation. But we do have an international border crossing that I do believe brings this to even greater importance in our area. You know, we've focused in the past on treating somebody temporarily and then sending them off. They go through their treatment, they go through 30 days, or they go through a court system and get sent to a certain area, and then we let them have their treatment and they move on. I have built a close relationship in my district, in my state house district, and even across the state with other representatives on this topic, understanding what real recovery organizations are doing in our communities, and understanding that government doesn't necessarily have to create the wheel on this. There are organizations doing amazing work in our district. And what's important on this topic is that we're providing long-term continuing care, whether it's mentorship, helping people place in jobs, making sure they have stable places to live. We have organizations in our community that are doing this incredibly well, that are keeping in touch with people that are in recovery. Recovery is a long-term issue, and we have to focus on it long-term. I have created 2 programs that are new this year in the state house in the budget. One of them is a grant program for recovery centers. We do not need to recreate these programs. We need to come alongside programs that are doing this well in our communities. The other thing is to early intervention. I created a grant program for recovery high schools. Why does somebody have to be convicted and get in trouble before we can actually help them? Let's have early intervention in this. Let's have parents who can intervene and say, my child needs help. They need to be in a different environment where there's counseling available, where there's support available. And we can do that through recovery high schools.
10 seconds left, Shane.
Through intervention academies that we already have. So I've created both of these pilot programs that work with existing organizations in our community, and we need to continue to do that.
Thank you, Representative Hernandez. Lisa Mclean.
The opioid crisis is clearly an issue, and this is an example of where I've been able to get things done as a leader and a leader in my community. Is I don't talk about things, I actually put things into action. 4.5 years ago, I actually started with Judge Dennis LeDuc, the North End support team. and the drug court in the North End. We had, in my opinion, we had a severe crisis, and it hit close to home when I lost somebody very close to me to an opioid crisis. And I was angry. I was extremely angry. Who I was angry at the time, I don't know. I was just angry. And I got together with leaders of the community. I got together with people in the court system. And I said, we need to do better. We need to make a difference for our community and the people in our community. And we did that with the drug court. We figured out how to establish it, how to get funding for it, both privately and with the grants. And I can proudly say that we've graduated over 18 people who have gone through the drug court, we have made a difference in their life to get them clean and sober and on the right path. And that is one of the things that I'm extremely proud of and very happy to be a part of.
Thank you. Kelly Nolan, your take on the opioid crisis.
In 2018, we had 2,036 people that died in Michigan from opioid overdoses. And that's 2,036 people too many. It should not happen. The state of Michigan has taken greater steps into controlling the distribution of opioids. MAPS system, the Michigan Automated Prescription System or Pharmaceutical System, was created to help track narcotic prescriptions. And that has helped, okay? But we need to crack down on doctors that are overprescribing. And I know there can be improvements made in that. And poverty is also one of the #1 contributors to overdoses or drug abuse, because our area is very rural. I was speaking with a woman in Almont that had lost her 21-year-old daughter to a heroin overdose. And she was my age, 51. And that just really bothered me, because it's something we do not talk about, and it's something that does need to be addressed. Our police officers are not mental health experts, okay? Neither is our jail system. And addiction is not a bad thing. It's actually a disease, and it needs to be treated and destigmatized, because it is a disease, a mental illness.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Also, pharmacies have instituted over-the-counter free Narcan. So if you have a chance, go into your local pharmacy, request a free sample of Narcan. It could save a life. I carry it on myself all the time and one in my car. Thank you.
Thank you. General Slocum, you're next.
Well, thank you very much. The opioid crisis is something that's near and dear to the community and has a huge impact. When you brought that up, my first thought went back to my experiences with Leadership Macomb, when we got to tour the different areas around the community, and we went to the courts, and we were sitting in the sentencing court, and there were some young ladies that were brought in, and they were being sentenced for some crimes, and I couldn't understand it. They had actually high achieving, high academic, high sports, that had gotten injured playing a sport and began with a painkiller type of a drug. They got addicted to that drug, which then led to the opioid addiction that they had, where then they started to pursue other options to be able to fill that need. It's destroying lives, and it's not just drug addicts that we think in bad parts of town. This is an epidemic that goes throughout our community that we need to address. There are a lot of great organizations in this community that are helping us. Family Against Narcotics, that I've been involved with, that I've contributed to, is a great example of that. There's things that we need to do to curtail the prescription drugs to begin with. On the medical side, we need to make sure that we're controlling those pain prescriptions in a way, but it also goes all the way back to our national sovereignty and securing our border so that there's not an illicit drug trade that's going on. When we talk about securing the border and building the wall, it's more than just immigration. There's things that we need to do to control public health in this country.
30 seconds left.
One of the things that we need to do is to make sure that we build the wall and that we control the borders. And like I said, it's for way more than just immigration. I would support limiting that oversupply of drugs that we talked about, as well as grants from the U.S. Department of Labor. I think that would go a long way, and continue to support the community programs, and we can beat this opioid crisis.
Thank you. For our next question, defense is a significant industry in Macomb County and has been said to be a great segue to attracting other industries, aerospace, for example. How will you leverage the assets, the human capital, supply chain, and existing industry to position the district as a premier location for other industries that complement existing industries? And that will go to Lisa Mclean.
Thank you. Jobs, all jobs, defense jobs, manufacturing jobs need to get back onto our shores. And I think the president has done a great job on that. The president has done a great job to support our military and really build our military up. And I think there's a slogan that President Reagan used, which was power through strength. And I think that's very important. And the military is important. And in our district, in District 10, I just visited 2 companies yesterday that need the military and depend on the military. And it's not only the dependence on the military and the contracts, but they need to get those contracts funded so that they can plan and they can begin to bring their employees back and they can begin to plan for long-term progress, not only for the military and the company, but for the jobs and the people in this district. So number one, I applaud what the president's doing in terms of building up our military. I think it is critical to the safety and the security of America. And I love the fact that we are trying to bring more jobs back into the community, because jobs in the community and jobs in the economy are critical, especially for the 10th district.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm actually going to go back to Kim Bison. I did miss her for the opioid question. I had a mistake on my sheet here, so I was aware of it, and our excellent viewers have definitely mentioned it in the chat box. So I do apologize, but I want to make sure we go back and get Kimberly's position on the opioid crisis before we continue on the defense.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? I think I unmuted, yes. So with the opioid crisis, it's very much here in probably a little bit everywhere, I suppose, in District 10. I've had, I was endorsed in 2018 by the National Association of Social Workers. So I've been able to have quite a few conversations on what we can do on more of a national type of level. I think one of the things that people most want to address, or what I've heard back, is having our doctors, when they do write a script for pain medication and for, you know, I forget some of the other names of the particular drugs, but like antidepressant and things like that, that they do like a follow-up or like a combo type of treatment where you're actually getting some consultation as well, whether that's through therapy, mental therapy. We also need to bring and support our mental health services. And I do believe that a lot of people that end up going to jail quite simply need more of that consultation in that care, that mental health care, in order to stay out of the system. And that can be done at a really early age. I also think that poverty does have a lot to do with it. Statistics show that if we were to increase our regular wages to actually a living wage, it would cause less stress and less suicides per year. So I think there's a lot to be said about how the doctors and the pharmacies and the mental health services are working together. I think there needs to be much more work done. We need to move the needle forward. Now, I know that the current administration—
30 seconds left.
The current administration, sent out some money to help relieve the opioid crisis. I don't believe that all of that— I know Sanilac County here received some money, and that different counties that decided different things to do with that money. So with that being said, I think we just need more help with our mental care services. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. I do apologize for missing you
That's
on
okay.
that last round.
It's okay.
I'm going to reread the question real quick on defense, just for the remaining candidates. Kelly Nolan, you'll be next. But just a reminder, defense is a significant industry in Macomb County and has been said to be a great segue to attracting other industries like aerospace. How would you leverage the assets, the human capital, the supply chain, and the existing industry to position the district as a premier location for other industries and complementing the existing industries?
Well, Jeremiah, first of all, we'd have to be able to attract other industries to our area. Now, in the TACOM area, you know, Warren, Sterling Heights area, we have a lot of our industrial complex there in that region. And what we need to do is attract more businesses, more big industries to that region. And if we got the grant for the aerospace industry, that would be awesome for Selfridge Air National Guard Base. I do hope that that something is granted back to Michigan, because we've had so much taken away. As for human capital, we also need to attract more engineers to our area, okay? Michigan has been found lacking to have skilled services like that, skilled, not trades, but you know, higher education like engineers, mechanical engineers, things like that. And we need to be able to have industries that will want to attract that human capital, okay? And the supply chain's already in place. I really feel that that would not be a problem. It would just be attracting industries with maybe better tax rates, not, you know, better tax subsidies, etc., to attract the businesses. And also the human capital, we need to encourage more talent to come to Michigan. We are lacking in talent in some spots, and that happens to be one of them, unfortunately. That's what I would work to do, is to attract the talent and to attract other industries to invest in our industrial community, to link in commonality with our military. Thank you.
Thank you. General Slocum, your response.
Thank you. And it's a great question. And I'll start by saying I know defense. For 35 years, one of the things I did is I worked the international foreign military sales programs in the fighter training business, as well as working programs with contractors, with government agencies at the international level, national level, state level, and then of course at the community level with what we've been able to do at Michigan's hometown air base at Selfridge. When it comes to the defense community, there's a lot of things that we need to look at. One is we need to have consistent budgets in Washington, D.C., not only with the budgets that we've had and the lack of a budget and the continuing resolutions that start every year, but the Budget Control Act, otherwise known as sequestration, has just been devastating to the military from a physical standpoint. To be able to work with the defense sector to have programs be consistent over time. It's driven up the price, it's driven down efficiency. There's a lot of things that we could do to help out in the local area. I have a proven track record at Selfridge, turning that base around, getting it so that it is the resilient installation that it is, and part of our economic engine that we have now with almost $1 billion a year. That's what I was brought to Michigan to do and was very successful at doing it. Now Selfridge is looking at F-35s in the future, being future of potentially of the Space Command, you know, working with the city of Sterling Heights. Also, there's the Michigan Launch Initiative now that's bringing space assets potentially into here for the low Earth orbits and the North orbits that we're looking at.
30 seconds left.
Hopefully Selfridge being the home to that. But to bring this all home outside of that proven record, one, just like we did at Selfridge, we need to focus on STEM education and having that education in our talent pool here in the state to support it. But the other thing we need to do is we need to bring active duty force structure back to Michigan.
10 seconds.
Military needs to have folks here. That's where they're going to put their money where their mouth is, where their forces are. Let's get military back in the state of Michigan. Thanks.
Thank you. Kimberly Bison.
Thank you for that question. I was really excited to hear that we are possibly, you know, expanding the Selfridge Air Force Base into the, into the space technology and programs. I do think that we really need to bring more jobs in that area, reinforce our military base in Selfridge. I think as far as like, you know, it bring revenue here for like North Macomb and bring jobs. I also want to make sure that we're supporting the military families in our area as well. So I'm completely on board with bringing back those jobs, finding those ways in order to do that. So I'm open to seeing new projects come in for our base, and I support our military 1,000%. So thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Representative Hernandez.
Thank you. And I think this is a great question because I don't know if there's a place more well-positioned for growth in this area than the 10th Congressional District. Whether it's Selfridge Air Base, whether it's General Dynamics, TACOM, the Macomb Defense Corridor, the resources we have, the manufacturing resources that we have, the engineering schools that we have in the state, we are incredibly well positioned infrastructure-wise. Now we need to continue to make investments in our infrastructure. Candace Miller and Paul Mitchell have been champions of the Defense Corridor. They've been champions of Selfridge, and been champions of making sure that there are infrastructure investments in this area. We need to also make sure that we have the proper jobs training and skills for this. And that is incredibly important. I believe that we have the people to do this. And we have to come around this as a community as well. I think a great example would be what happened in Madison, Wisconsin, where F-35s were supposed to go there and the community didn't support it. We have to support this at all levels, from Congress to our state to our local communities, and let them know that we are positioned for this, we have the skills for this, we have the people and the facilities for this, and that we will welcome this. And you know, a strong military and investing in our military is the greatest deterrence that there is. We need to continue those investments and make sure that we are training the workers for these jobs.
Thank you. I did hear Selfridge mentioned, which is a great segue into this next question. And we'll begin that with Kelly Nolan in just a moment. But here's the question. For more than a century,
Jeremiah, we have Lisa Mclean.
Oh, it's been a rough day. Lisa.
I actually already answered.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
first.
Okay, now you're tricking me.
Sorry.
You want to give me more time?
Nope.
You guys got me on that one.
Sorry.
So this one goes to Kelly Nolan. For more than a century, Selfridge has been a long-standing asset in the Macomb County community. In recent years, there has been a discussion to the role and the relevance of the base and its future. In your role as a representative of this base, how would you ensure the base remains an important, relevant asset within America's defense and response efforts? And that's for Kelly.
Right. Selfridge Air National Guard Base is literally located 5 miles from my house. I say hi to the flyboys every time they come over. Selfridge Air National Guard Base, there would not be a Macomb County without, or our outlying areas without Selfridge Air National Guard Base. And as a veteran, I would fight my utmost to keep our air base where it, right smack dab where it is and where it belongs, to keep the jobs in our community, to keep our veterans, you know, well situated on that base is something we need to look into too also, guys. But I would fight for Selfridge to be a continued asset to Macomb County. I would endeavor in Congress to work towards getting more programs assigned to Selfridge Air National Guard Base, like the F-35 program or something similar if that came up. And I would like to actually expand the base in a certain direction. Not necessarily as so defense type, but perhaps developing other things like green technology and things like that we do need to start instituting. And I think that the Army and Selfridge could be a big part of that. I really do. I know it sounds strange, but I think that Selfridge Air National Guard Base is going to have a very large impact on that type of industry in the future years. That's just my opinion. And I would work hard to keep Selfridge here. And like I said, it's been a long-standing, like you said, it's been a long-standing asset. And I just can't imagine Macomb County without it. I really can't. I would fight to keep Selfridge here and actually to expand services at the base. Thank you.
General Doug Slocum.
Thank you, and a great question, and obviously very familiar and near and dear to my heart. Selfridge, in 2014, I was back in Washington, D.C. working as the Inspector General, and I was approached about potentially coming to Selfridge, to the organization. If you remember the narrative in the past, it was that it was a stressed organization. We were talking about saving the A-10, what was going to happen with Selfridge in the future. They wanted me to come into this organization that was under a lot of the stress and a lot of the what's going to happen in the future type of talk, and transform that organization into something for the future. Well, using my leadership style I refer to as violent positivity, the base responded very, very well. You know, the community partnerships, the things that went on, being able to engage and simply encouraging people. Within 2 years, it's the best wing in the Guard. Now we're looking at F-35s, we're looking at future missions, we're talking about Space Command. Nobody's talking about Selfridge shutting down anymore. We're talking about Selfridge's next 100 years as a cornerstone of Michigan's economy. Over 5,000 jobs, 45 tenant organizations out there right now. Selfridge is the model of intergovernmental cooperation. You know, when I retired and went on to a second career, and all of a sudden this was an open seat, it was the community that was calling me saying, we want to see what you were able to do with Selfridge and expand that to the 10th district. There's so much that Selfridge has as a great future, but the real strength out there is the men and women that we have on that installation, most of which are members of our community that then also spend time, in addition to balancing work, life, family, also contribute to our state and our nation. It really is a role model of what right looks like out there at Selfridge. And as I said, it's a model of cooperation. I was glad to be able to have the almost 5 years of leadership out there. It's such an important part of our economy.
Thank you. Kimberly Bison?
Thank you for that question. I think Selfridge Air Force Base is right where it kind of needs to be for the country. You know, again, I have to remind everybody that, you know, right there protects the second largest body of fresh water. That's kind of important. It also is right on the border with another country that could be easily, you know, needs to be monitored, you know, for any type of activity and things like that. So when I'm in Congress, actually one of the things that I do very well here in my own community in Lexington is actually building relationships. So immediately upon being elected, I would go ahead and sit down with Selfridge Air Force Base and those military personnel and really work with them and really try to discover ways in which we can go ahead and bring some of these programs to Selfridge Air Force Base in District 10. So that's kind of, you know, I'm not an expert at military and things like that, but I have this wonderful ability to go ahead and sit down at a round table in a bipartisan relationship and actually get it done, bring those questions to bear, and then find really some solutions that work for people. I think I would completely, you know, expand on Selfridge Air Force Base. I'm really excited about the space technology coming in. Again, more technology jobs is good. Families coming in with good jobs through the military is excellent outcome for North Macomb. So I think we're going in the right direction. And as your Congresswoman, I would be making sure that I'm front and center and having those relationship conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Hernandez?
Yeah, I think we have to recognize how important Selfridge is, not just as an air base, but an integral part of our communities. What it means to the community it's in, housing around it, the economy around it, the schools around it. It is an integral piece of our communities. It doesn't just affect that local community. It doesn't just affect the state. It affects at that national level as well. It is an incredibly important piece. We've had two champions of Selfridge, and Candace Miller, who's been able to keep the A-10s there, Paul Mitchell, who's laid the groundwork for a new mission there, hopefully with F-35s, and we need to continue that work and make sure that that can happen. Again, this has to bring all parts of our community together. Homeland Security was brought up before as well. There are great partnerships here that can be made and are already being made, and we need to continue to strengthen. We are a border community. We have that Homeland Security here, and we need to make sure that we work together at all levels to continue to provide Selfridge with the resources necessary because of how important it is, not just to the economy, but the entire community around it.
Thank you. Lisa Mclean?
Jobs, economy, the economy, and defense. Sounds like a great recipe for the 10th district. And if I'm elected to Congress, one of the things you'll find about me is I listen a lot more than I think others do. So if I'm elected to Congress on the issue of Selfridge Air Force Base, with all due respect, General Slocum, I would lean on you to help me with these issues because I think you've done a great job there, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Our fifth question here, we're going to begin with General Slocum, and it has to do with the pandemic going on right now. COVID-19 has given many of us a new perspective on many everyday things, from the internet and technology limitations to hard economic realities for millions of Americans and Michiganders. With impacts in every corner of our state, we've experienced record unemployment rates, with many fearing the pandemic's impacts will be greater than the Great Recession in 2009. Many aspects of normal life continue to be fluid, impacting the economy overall, and in some instances, significantly impacting the finances and the stability of Michigan families. What is your plan to help Michigan get back to business while keeping safe?
Well, and that's a great question. In the pandemic, just like any type of a crisis, what you need to do is, in a leadership position, you want to make sure that you're communicating, you're talking a lot. So to begin with, we need to make sure that we have a plan in place. Now in Congress, being a legislator, what you need to do is serve as a coordinating function between the executive branches, the state agencies, and also you end up as an intermediary in this whole thing. But what you're really looking to do is build a plan. And a plan has goals and objectives, it has a timeline, it has ownership, and it's a written document. Flexible, of course, you want to be able to adapt to whatever's going on and new information that comes in. But we also need to communicate. We need to clearly communicate what we know, what we don't know, what it is we need to know, and what it is we're doing in the future. And talk to people and talk to them often. The federal government has a distinct role when it comes to the pandemic, and a lot of it from the economic standpoint has to do with creating a safety net. We need to be able to have programs, and the federal government's in a unique position to be able to provide not necessarily, level economic support, but to provide a safety net that allows for a floor that businesses don't go under, that they're able to recover back, that we have policies and programs in place that get our economy back to work. And this all goes back into the idea of having a plan and providing that leadership that we need so that it's clear, concise. People will find comfort in that. We find out what the facts are. We get America back to work. And that's what I think the role we need in the federal government and what we need from a legislator. And that's what I would provide.
Thank you. Kimberly Bison.
Thank you very much for that question. I think that we really need to rely on the science and data. I believe that our current administration has put our economy in a bad position as they denied the existence of the virus, delayed federal aid and assistance, and undermined medical and scientific best practices. They even lied about, even to this day, do we wear a mask or not a mask? We already seen that the numbers were going down. And because of the irresponsibility and the misguidance of our federal government, we are now back into, higher numbers and more cases breaking out in the hospitals and everywhere else and putting lives at risk. So we were on a path to go ahead and open new phases. And now we seem to have we have to re-question, is that a good opening or not? So I do believe it's time that we get really serious about the masks. I just got a phone call yesterday from one of my supporters about a small coffee shop. And I have a big heart for small businesses, no doubt, because those are like their passion shops, their passion jobs. These people in the 10th district work really hard at their goals and those things they're really passionate about. And this coffee shop is going to close because they cannot recover. I am disheartened to know that millionaires received that money that was supposed to go to small businesses. And I was disappointed that some of that money was allocated only for particular areas of a certain amount of money. For example, in Lexington, where I live, the coffee shop here, for example, didn't receive more than $1,000, whereas more of an economic relief went larger to a coffee shop.
30 seconds.
Here on. So we can come together and start to reopen, but in Congress, we need to really identify, A, get a watchdog for where the money's going, and B, really start to have a congresswoman or representative bring those efforts in grants back to District 10 and start paying attention to our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Representative Hernandez.
Thank you. I have spent a good bulk of my last several months hearing from people in my House district, whether it's businesses that are struggling, businesses that don't understand the different orders that have come down, don't feel like they've had input, people that are struggling with unemployment, not sure when they can go back, not sure how to plan. This is an issue that needs to be taken on with everyone at the table. And that is not what has been done in the state of Michigan. These small businesses are not asking to just reopen without safety plans in place. They are willing to bend over backwards to work with our leaders to come up with ways to reopen their business. This idea that it is being safe or opening is a false dichotomy. It's a false idea. We can do both if we work together. I talked to a business yesterday that is not open at this time, has ideas and is willing to share those ideas. But decisions have come down solely from one person without the legislature involved in this. We've made decisions to put sick people in nursing homes while we have empty hospitals that we built. These are decisions that I have people talk to me daily about with ideas. We need to all come to the table and come around and find safe ways to get back to work. And as we move forward, we have focused a lot on business attraction over the years. We have a good economy that's moving forward. We're going to have to start to focus on business retention right now. We need to make sure that we're getting resources to our existing businesses so that we can retain them. They're struggling right now. We need to listen to them. We need to help work with them to understand the best way to help them keep their business going. And I agree, some of these programs that have been put out there are not getting to the places that they need to be getting to. Was that time?
Lisa Mclean?
As a leader and a person who has dealt with this firsthand, I've had 700 employees, and I'll be the first to admit that it's been a hard needle to thread to keep our employees safe, but keep our business open so that I can afford and we can afford to make payroll every week has been a challenge. But what I tell everybody is I clearly respect the coronavirus, but I don't live in fear of the coronavirus. And the governor has killed our economy with her overreach. And we must begin to deal with that and put policies in place so this can't happen again. See, different is I believe in the American people. I believe in the employees. I believe in the people. I believe in the business owners to make the right decisions. I believe we can figure out how to keep our economy going. And Shane, I think you said this very, very, very well put, is it's not an or, it can be an and. We can figure out how to keep our businesses open and our economics thriving and figure out how to keep people safe. I believe in the American people. I believe in their spirit. I believe in their mind. I believe in their innovation. We need to rebuild our economy, because if you have jobs and people have a job where they are being productive, they provide value. It helps with their mental health.
30 seconds
It
left.
helps with the economy. It helps them give a feeling that they're doing something with a purpose. I think the other thing is we need to get some regulation out of the way so the businesses can open up and we don't have to be dependent on the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Nolan?
I am a science-based woman. I look at things logically, and COVID-19 is not going away. It is here to stay, like the common cold, influenza, and chickenpox and herpes. There's no cure for this virus, okay? This virus is a killer. Yes, people with comorbidities are having more difficulty overcoming the virus, but we are discovering just after 6 months of studying this virus that there are side effects. Even if you're completely healthy beforehand and you become infected with COVID, you can suffer complications like permanent lung scarring, kidney damage, and cognitive difficulties, just to name a few. That's why I agree with what Governor Whitmer did in making people mask up. And it really shocks me at the blasé attitude some people have taken about not wearing their masks. And they're saying it infringes upon my right. Well, it infringes upon my right to stay healthy and alive. Now, in the coming years, it's going to take years to recover from this pandemic because it has affected our small businesses tremendously. 99% of the economy in America is based on small businesses. What we need to do is structure loans directly to rural areas over any big corporations, okay? Mom and pop businesses that have low employee ratios, thank you. And we need to keep those businesses afloat, or else America is not going to recover from this pandemic. So what I would do is I would encourage legislation to make sure that, yes, transparency of where the money went, and two, concentrated federal funding for just rural areas and smaller, much smaller businesses, because that has not been realized here in Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, the 10th district covers a large, diverse geographic and economic portion of Michigan along Lake Huron, the St. Clair River, and Lake St. Clair. If elected, how do you plan to address the diverse needs of a diverse constituency? And we'll begin with Kimberly Bison for this one.
Thank you for that question. I have been all over the 10th Congressional District. I've even been to Owendale. If somebody knows where Owendale is, I believe most people don't. We have tourism all along the outside of the thumb. We have farming on the inside, interior areas. We have manufacturing more on the south end, and we share the community colleges, Macomb Community College and St. Clair Community College, and also there's a college in Tuscola as well. So when we're talking about how would you address the diversity, I think that you have to really know your communities. It's not like one or the other. It's a combination of really some fantastic people and ways to go ahead and find their own expansions. One of the things that we've been front and center on, or myself and my own community, and even expanding that throughout District 10, is our shoreline erosions and the high level watermarks. Nobody else here is really talking about these issues that affect pretty much most of District 10. I've been out there front and center working with coastal engineers. Our representatives are high and dry, nowhere to be found. I've been to Ira Township. I've been to Harson's Island. I know that they've been bagging, last year they bagged 600,000 sandbags. These are issues as a whole of District 10 that need to be addressed. When it comes to farmers, I support new products that offer manufacturing opportunities and jobs. I really support hemp farming. I think it's a great crop. I know that my current senator liked that idea so much, he went ahead and
30
adopted
seconds
it.
left.
And so I think there's other products besides CDB oil. I think that you can do hemp clothing. I'm a big activist for eliminating oil-based single-use products. Hemp is a perfect, solution to our water bottle crisis. So there are many things. I see lots of diversity and opportunity, and I just love all of our communities together here in District 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Shane Hernandez.
Thank you. The 10th Congressional District is an incredibly diverse district, whether it's lakeshore, agriculture, manufacturing, border crossing, defense. There's such a wide variety of areas in the district. And I think I serve a House district right now that isn't completely different. And that if I go into Sanilac County, the issues I hear about in Sanilac County are completely different than the issues I hear about in St. Clair County. Number one is building relationships and also knowing when you don't know. I had a professor in grad school who told us that engineers know everything about nothing and architects know nothing about everything. You truly, in architecture, there's so many different things. You have to know where to find that information. You have to be willing to build those relationships and know who to go to on those things. And that's part of being a representative of a district like this. Building the relationships in the agricultural industry, building the relationships in the manufacturing industry. I think in my time in the State House, I've been able to show that I have been able to do that. I've built the relationships in the Port Huron area. I've built the relationships in the agricultural portion of the district. And you have to rely on people in the district who know those things. And you have to be in the district. That is the number one part of the job, I think. Everybody focuses so much on what's happening in DC or in Lansing. The biggest part of the job is to be in the district, connecting with people, and to serve a diverse district like this. That's exactly what it will take.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Representative. Lisa Mclean.
Thank you. As it pertains to diversity and the diverse businesses and the diversity of our district, I think the best way to deal with that is with your ears. You have to get into the community. You have to, as a business leader, as a community leader, as a wife, as a mother, you have to be willing to get in and listen to the people of your district, whether it's manufacturing, I've met with businesses, I've met with agriculture, I've met with manufacturing companies, I've met with educators. The biggest thing, since I'm not a career politician, of what I think I have to do to address our diverse district is I need to be able to listen, and I need to be able to rely on people with my relationships who have some experience in their particular area of expertise. I'm not a jack of all trades. And what has served me well, not only in business, but in life, is to surround myself with good, competent people who do know their piece of the pie better than I do. And that's the strength of working together as a community, as a leader, is the ability to listen to both sides, and then be able to take what you hear and apply it to move everything forward. So much of the time, we
30 seconds
as
left.
leaders focus on what's wrong, and we try to tear things down. I think if we get a different approach and we look at some positivity, and let's start with what are some things as the community that we can build on together, and focus on building things up, and focus on what we have in common to make the 10th district better, we'll all be better.
Thank you. Kelly Nolan?
Hello. Can you see me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I see, because I see General Slocum there. There you go, sir. Yes, the 10th district is a very diverse community. Northern Macomb County, actually Macomb County in general, has grown 300% more diverse than it was 10 years ago. And that's going to have a huge impact because it is a trickle up effect, because people will move more up into the rural areas. And you do need to have your feet on the ground. You do need to be in touch with your business leaders in the community, your community leaders, your local and state representatives. We all need to work together as a cohesive unit in commonality for the betterment of District 10. That's what it comes down to, folks, is you have to be willing to walk around, put your feet on the ground, listen to what people need, address their needs and concerns, and take care of business. And that's just how I feel it needs to be here in District 10. Kim mentioned the erosion going on along our lake shores. That is correct. We're seeing massive flooding, property damage, huge shoreline erosions. Where I take my son up to the beach, excuse me, it's eroded 12 feet since last year. That is scary. I'm not an expert at that. I'm not a climatologist. What I would do is I would work with the experts like the Army Corps of Engineers and whatever, Michigan, a Department of State, work with them to help solve those problems up there. And I would delegate authority to the appropriate people, like Lisa was so eloquently explaining. Surround yourself with the right people, because you can't do every job. You just can't. You can't micromanage. And that also has to be a diverse team. People of color, young people, older people. We need to get an opinion about not just a generality. We need to get real opinions from real people and act upon them in a real way. Am I done, Kelly?
Yeah.
Thank you. I lost my ear, please, Sarah. Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. General Doug Slocum?
Well, thank you very much. And we do indeed have a diverse constituency here in the 10th district, and diverse in a lot of different ways. From an economic standpoint, certainly we have the big drivers of manufacturing and agriculture, but then we also have just a wide variety of people with different backgrounds, different cultures. And I really see this as a great strength that we have within our district. Then we have the common areas with the tourism, with the recreation, with our education systems, with the healthcare. And even those differ depending on which part of the district that you're dealing with. One of the best things, and it was already touched on earlier, as an executive, as I learned, because literally the word general means you become a generalist. So my role essentially was as a CEO of a mayor of an organization. And the smartest thing that you can ever do is realize that you don't know what you don't know. So you surround yourself with smart people, with motivated people, and you organize, train, and equip those individuals, and you turn them loose, you trust them. You give them power to do what they need to do. So that's one of the things we need to do, is to surround ourselves with good people, smart people. But the other thing was also alluded to in an answer is we need to be able to listen. So as a legislator representing the 10th district, I don't know the things that I don't know. So I need to put together councils, and my plan is to do just that, to be able to listen to the different issues, to find out, because my job is to represent the population, and I can only do that if I listen and know what the issues are from the population itself. So the best thing I have really working for me in this case would be my ears. We want to make sure that we've got the
30
smart
seconds
people, turn
left.
them loose with what we're going to do. One of the things I do like being a leader is I like to surround myself with people different than me. I like people who disagree with me. I like people who challenge my ideas, because that's how we're going to come to a smart answer, instead of people just agreeing with us all the time. We do, once we come up with a
10 seconds.
decision, one team, one fight. Our diversity is our strength, and I plan to bring that together.
Thank you. Many Americans believe our dependence on fossil fuels must end if we are to save our planet Earth. Renewable energy such as solar and wind was making great progress, with some help from federal government incentives now largely gone. If elected, will you support renewable energy and the jobs it creates, or do you think that coal and natural gas are just fine for our society? Representative Hernandez will take that with you.
Thank you. I believe in all the above approach. I don't think that we should be making moves that force our affordable energy out. But I also think that we should be developing alternatives through competition and free markets. I also think on this topic, in my background in architecture, my master's degree is in sustainability and green architecture. I think we focus sometimes very much on production and not enough on consumption. And consumption of energy is actually a great area to show where the free market is really driving changes. There are building methods that are incredible in reducing energy consumption that are actually more affordable because we have allowed the markets to drive those changes. But I believe this president has taken steps toward making sure that we are, one, dependent on ourselves, which is incredibly important, and that we are taking an all the above approach. But again, I believe that this needs to be a market-based approach. I believe that these different forms of energy need to be able to compete freely. Whether we have ethanol in this district, we have wind in this district, but we need to have that even playing field for them. But we need to also focus on that consumption side. This isn't just a production issue. This is a consumption issue. This is just my background. It's an area I'm passionate about. I believe it's an area that is forgotten quite often. And I think it's something that could even be driven by making sure that we have more young people going into skilled trades. I think that's actually a major part of where we fall back on our consumption side, is that we have an aging construction industry. We have an industry that doesn't want to do things differently and change how they're doing it. As we drive more young people into those trades, we drive more innovation, we drive more change in that area.
Thank you. Lisa Mclean.
I'm in favor of renewable energy. I'm in favor of innovation. I like the concept of the free market. And if you give people the ability and the freedoms to use their minds and to innovate, it's amazing what we will come up with. And to echo on what Representative Hernandez said is we are a very diverse district, and we are using a lot of renewable energy right now. So whether it's traditional energy, renewable energy, those are all positive things that move us forward and carries us forward and our momentum forward. I also think it's extremely important to focus on education as it pertains to this, because I do believe businesses should have responsibilities, not only to grow economically, but they should take some responsibility and see what they can do to innovate, to be more efficient, to be more effective. And long term, I think that helps everybody. And it gets back to, let's focus on something that is good for everyone and find a common ground that we all can agree on. I think renewable energy is one of those sources that we can agree on to use to move forward. So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Lisa Mclean. Kelly Nolan.
Sorry about that. Fossil fuels are a finite fuel. They will end someday. And in the process of seeking them via fracking and other destructive methods, we are killing our planet. So I am 100% toward going to renewable energy, also electric cars. We were making very good strides in the thumb with the wind turbines and with solar energy. Federal funding dried up. And yeah, I definitely support renewable energy because we have put more carbon in the air in the industrial age in the last 100 years than we had the 10,000 years previous of human existence. Let that sink into your head. 100 years, and we're in a crisis right now. And if we do not act aggressively, we will not have a planet to pass on to our children or our grandchildren. So I would be aggressive in researching and innovation for getting rid of fossil fuels, carbon emissions, and I would also advocate to re-legislate to have the EPA rollbacks that were done by the current administration reinstated, along with harsher penalties for carbon emissions that are emitted from companies, and if they go over their quota, that they should be penalized accordingly. So yeah, I'm a big renewable energy person. That is the future. Like I said, fossil fuels are finite, and we should not be killing our Mother Earth to get to something that we're not going to have any use for very soon. And we need to innovate, and we need to change, or else we're not going to have a planet, like I said, to pass on to our future.
Thank you, Kelly. General Doug Slocum.
Well, thanks. Let me start off by saying I support an all of the above energy strategy. We need to have energy independence. We need to do things smart. And certainly what COVID has shown us during this pandemic is that we need to secure our supply chains, and that includes energy. We need to not be reliant on foreign sources to be able to run our economy and be prosperous. And part of that means that we have to be energy independent. I'm also going to say that we need to support renewable and smart ways to produce energy. You know, there's a lot of things that are happening now with the wind turbines and the solar. At Selfridge, as a CEO out there, I was a big advocate of looking for ways to be more efficient with energy as well as use the resources that we have. In fact, it was some of those initiatives that led to me last year being named DTE Energy's Environmental Steward of the Year. And it's because I could wear both hats. They're not mutually exclusive. We can be energy independent, and we could also be smart with our environment and with the renewables that we have at the same time. So continue to champion for that. And the way that that happened is through partnerships, with communication, and being smart with the steward of the resources that are available to us. And if we're able to do that and bring people together, we can come up with solutions that doesn't have to pit each other, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of one or the other. So that's what I think I bring to the table when it comes to this discussion, is to be able to solve these problems, bring people together, and make us energy independent, and at the same time make sure that we're being smart with our resources and taking care of our environment.
Thank you. And Kimberly Bison.
Thank you very much for this question. I'm actually an international climate reality leader, and in 2014, I was also an environmental lobbyist trying to move the needle on the carbon fee and dividend proposed legislation in Congress. There are actually two pieces in Congress right now. We have got to move the needle forward on renewable energy. We have got to start to pay attention to the environment. Last month, we look at the data, we teach education on climate change, we look at solutions that are real. Last month, the ppm, the parts per million of the CO2, was above 415. That is a warning. The ICPP or IPCC panel that talks with the United Nations, they're warning that we have got to move the needle forward. Now, I'm very familiar with District 10. As I mentioned before, I've been everywhere in District 10, listening to people, listening to businesses. I had a tour over at the DTE facility for solar. Fantastic program. fuels 11,000 Lapeer homes. Now we're having programs come in where not only do they support solar panels, but also pollination for our bees by planting wildflowers in between them. Now, as far as the windmills, there's been a lot of controversy up in the Thumb area, and I believe respectfully that those businesses handled some of those contracts incorrectly. However, there is some success stories. For example, Akron Fairgrove collected $9 million in revenue and actually saved their school system. So this works. It creates thousands and thousands of jobs. And we were headed in the right direction until our current administration rolled back environmental. He slapped tariffs on our solar panels coming in from China, which of course we should have been building them in the United States in the first place. So he has stagnated this process moving forward. And just another thing also, I have reached out to our local representatives, especially my own representatives, trying to make sure that we could build infrastructure for electric vehicles, and they have failed us. It is time for new leadership here. Young people are getting engaged about climate change. We need to leave a future for our children and our grandchildren. And it's time for leadership, strong leadership, to step up and stop with the excuses and get to work for people in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a chance here. We're going to basically, I got one question from a viewer. We're going to try to do this to 1 minute answers, and then we're going to go into our closings. Thomas Tyson sent a question in regarding the ongoing call for the defunding of our police departments from members of the left. Do you support the defunding of police and or the reform of police? And if so, what do you propose? And I'm going to start with Lisa Mclean on that question, and we'll go through 1 minute each.
100%, we should not defund the police. If anything, we should defend the police. Law and order is critical for our nation, for our safety, our security, and our well-being. Now, what that police officer did was, there's no excuse for it. Unbelievable, unacceptable, and he needs to be dealt with swiftly and justly. But one bad apple does not constitute defunding of the police. Think of the long-term consequences of defunding the police. Who's going to protect you?
15 seconds.
That is the craziest thing that I've ever heard. We are a nation of law, and we need to get back to law and order.
Thank you, Lisa. Kelly Nolan, 1 minute.
Defunding the police has been kicked around by certain people as a scare tactic. It's not defunding the police. It's reallocating funds from the police that have been increasingly militarized over the years. There are some police departments that have gun turrets mounted on their cars. Some like to drive tanks around, and that's ridiculous, okay? I am fully for the police force. I am a first responder. There's no way I would agree to abolish the police. That is not about abolishing the police force. Defunding the police is, again, like I stressed, to reallocate those funds toward the community, because the police, if they become more involved in the community and know their community, they're going to be safer in that community, and the community will also be safer. Also, police disciplinary records need to be made more transparent to prevent bad cops from jumping from precinct to precinct and creating an issue like Officer Chauncey did in Minnesota, killing a man live on camera. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. General Doug Slocum.
Thank you. The proposal to defund the police is absolutely absurd. No, absolutely not. I support the rule of law, and I support our law enforcement professionals. If anything else, we need to make sure that they get better equipment, better training, and more resources to be able to do the job effectively. That's how we're going to establish law and order within the country. I've spent many years traveling, teaching organizational behavior and culture. Bad apples don't define an organization. A good organization identifies the bad apples and you get rid of them out of the organization, but those don't define us. So we need to make sure we continue to focus on what we need to. I support the police. Defunding them is a terrible idea. No.
Thank you. Kimberly Bison.
Yeah, I think that the word, I never really cared for the word defund, but it actually does mean, like Kelly had mentioned, it means about taking that fund, and kind of evaluating it and working with the local communities and those, actually there's so much studies about when police officers are out there with their community, actually interacting with the community, that there's less racism, there's less people going to jail. So I love, like, the one program that I've seen that I just think is fantastic is Governor Cuomo. He is basically having his police forces send in their recommended budget by working with the community. So any activists can go ahead and work with the, with the administration and the police department and come up with a plan that actually educates against racism. Because you know what? Black lives do matter. And I'm sorry, I was in 5 protests because I want to be the representative that actually stands with people. And that's what we need. And they finally had somebody to listen to them. I don't like the word defund, but it's actually about community cooperation and finding solutions together. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Representative Shane Hernandez.
I support our police. I think what they do is an incredibly difficult job. I do not support this defund our police movement. I've actually voted on a resolution against the defund our police movement. I think we need to support our police, and we need to provide them with proper training and proper funding. I do believe that a community conversation can be great. What we saw happen in Flint with the officer in Flint who marched with people, who listened and talked. I think those are great things that can happen. But defunding our police is a terrible idea, and I will continue to support our police.
Thank you. Candidates, that does conclude tonight's questions. We want to thank you for a spirited, engaging, and valuable discussion this evening, and for answering tough questions on a series of important issues impacting the 10th District in Macomb and St. Clair and all the counties in the 10th District. Before we begin the closing statements, I would like to thank again the Blue Water Chamber and the Macomb County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and for the respective CEOs, Thelma Castillo and Dr. Kelly Lavati, for creating this event and offering this program to the chamber members and the community at large. Finally, we'd like to thank you, our viewers, for attending tonight's event. We hope you found it valuable and informative, and we encourage each of you watching to get out and vote Tuesday, November 3rd. Candidates, each of you will have 2 minutes for your closing statement, and we will begin with Kimberly Bison.
Thank you very much. I prepared actually a statement because words do matter, just like truth matters. In today's arena of the divide in politics, I am reminded every day that we need a representative that represents all people, regardless of political party. A representative that stands up for the most vulnerable in our society, like our seniors and those with disabilities. We need a representative who stands side by side with others marching in protest for equality, even during a pandemic. We are Americans, and our Constitution states clearly that all citizens should be treated equally, regardless of the color of your skin, the religion you choose, or the person you choose to love. We as Americans, who stand to fight, united as Americans, and in this case, against a pandemic. We have always fought for liberty, and liberty for all Americans. The liberty to be free, the liberty of equal opportunity towards the American dream, the liberty to breathe, and the liberty to live. We need a representative that understands this, someone who believes in people, a person who works hard and is there every time for them. I am that person. I have not tried to buy this congressional seat to serve my own interests. I do not have special interest groups giving me loads of money to support them in office. All of my campaign donations are from people, everyday people, trying to get by. Some supporters even give $3 a month because that's all they can afford, so that I can continue to fight for healthcare because they are either sick or their loved ones are dying. I am the candidate that has been front and center about our local issues and about climate change. I hope to earn your vote in this election. I am here for the duration, and I look forward to representing everybody, regardless of party affiliations. And it's time to stay united. And please wear a mask. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Shane Hernandez.
Thank you, Macomb County Chamber. Thank you, Blue Water Area Chamber, for this opportunity, and everybody who stayed on this entire time to listen and get to know the candidates. It's incredibly important. I was born and raised in this district. My parents were born and raised in this district. My mom's family owned a small dairy farm in the district. My dad was actually a migrant worker. He picked vegetables in the fields as a child. He worked at the Croswell Pickle Factory till the day it closed. I grew up in low income. We struggled to get by. I didn't believe my entire life that it was possible for me to go to college, to work and build a small business, or to even know my representative, let alone be the representative of the district. This country has provided me amazing opportunities. I have truly lived the American dream. I believe this is a hardworking blue-collar district, whether it's agriculture, manufacturing. The people in this district are hardworking people who want to be left alone. They want the government out of their lives, and they want a small, efficient government that works for them. And I believe I'm somebody who has the proven track record of being a solid conservative legislator that can work for this district, that shares the values of this district, that has lived my entire life in this district and understands it. And again, I thank everybody for their time. I appreciate the exchange of ideas, and I hope to earn your vote on August 4th.
Thank you. Lisa Mclean.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone that's on the call. Thank you, Blue Water, and thank you, Macomb Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate it. And I want to especially thank all the other candidates on here too. I'm not a career politician. This is my first time in politics. As you know, I've spent 30 plus years building a business and in the business community and raising my family. But one of the things that I've learned through business and through life experience and even being a mother is disagreement isn't disloyalty. So I appreciate everybody's views. I appreciate everybody's opinion. And it's nice for a change. And what I'd like to see happen in the future is that we could really stick to the issues and use logic and common sense, as opposed to revert to name calling when we don't agree on things. Because as Americans and as people, we're not going to agree on everything. But I think what makes America special is, again, disagreement isn't disloyalty. And if we could all just focus on the issues and use some logic and common sense, as opposed to the name calling, and that doesn't help anyone. Let's focus on what we are building and what we are doing to make our district and our families and our communities and our countries better. I think that's what we need to get back to. I'm a proven job creator, conservative outsider, wife and mother of 4 children. I'm a servant leader, and I'm excited and honored to hopefully serve our community in the 10th district. And thank you, everyone, again.
Thank you. Kelly Nolan.
Yes, I know that my freshman candidacy shows through, and I am also not a politician. I'm not a stuffed shirt. I don't have big PAC money that I'm taking. Mine is completely grassroots funded, and I'm proud to say that I made it on the ballot for the first time, and that's because I care as a person, and I'm going to murderize my dog after this. Okay, guys, I'm really sorry. I believe in the people. I believe that our district has been underrepresented for years. Paul Mitchell didn't even hold a town hall his entire incumbency. And how can you know truly what's going on in your community unless you're talking about the people? I do know how to talk to people. I do know leaders in our communities that I have spoken to, business leaders, church leaders, community leaders, etc. I know what their wants and their needs are because I do truly listen. My feet are on the ground. I grew up on a farm. I've been a nurse for 33 years, and I know people. I know them well. And I know that only working together, we win. And that is the key here. We need proper representation in Washington, D.C. We need somebody who's going to be able to work across the aisle, that's going to get things done, that's going to look outside the box. And General Slocum will know this saying, that's going to be able to suck it up and drive on when the time gets tough. Okay. So I would
30
just,
seconds.
thank you. I am seeking your vote to be a fresh face and a fresh perspective for District 10. I am a nurse, I'm an Army veteran, and I am someone that truly cares about the people of my district and the things that affect my district and their daily lives, people that live in it. Thank you.
Thank you. General Doug Slocum.
Well, thank you to everyone for participating and to the Blue Water Area Chamber and the Macomb Chamber. The opportunity to talk and share ideas tonight. I am a proven leader and a statesman with an unmatched depth and breadth of experience at the international, national, state, and local levels. I took an oath more than 35 years ago to uphold and defend the Constitution, and I've never untaken that oath. I will continue to physically protect life, whether we're talking about national security, America first, building a wall to secure our borders, or whether we're talking about safety and welfare and upholding the rule of law and supporting our law enforcement professionals. And I would also protect life, all lives, all stages. And we need to make sure that we get government out of the healthcare business and let business figure out how to innovate and do things well. I'm going to preserve the liberties in our Constitution, you know, from our Bill of Rights, which includes our right to keep and bear arms from the Second Amendment, freedom of religion, the God-given right we have to worship the way that we want to, or the integrity of our republic by making sure that we have mandatory voter IDs and that we're doing things right so that we secure our representative democracy that we have. But I also want to promote prosperity and economic well-being in this country. America remains, we need to make sure America remains the undisputed economic leader in the world. We do that by once again getting government out of the way, lowering taxes, fewer regulations, but we need to make sure we continue what President Trump's been doing with USMCA and other trade agreements, fair trade and free market access. We can beat anybody on a level playing field. That's just who we are. We need to have physical accountability in Washington, D.C., that our budgets
15
are correct.
seconds.
You bet. And we need to get government out of the business of business and turn it loose, and we'll
10
do amazing
seconds.
things. I served 35 years protecting this country. I've honorably served this community, and I would consider it a privilege to ask for your vote
Time's up.
to continue that service as a representative.
Thank you. Candidates, thank you for those closing statements. With that, this concludes tonight's 10th Congressional District debate. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.